mostly clear on the questions you gave us. Just talk a little bit about the format.
So we didn't would be somebody we'll take on
We'll give you a minute to just introduce yourselves, how you work with that part. I'm going to give an overview from the call out, and then we'll go into the questions, which are we just folded some of the ones that we had shared with everyone, which we saw in the other sessions. 10 questions could maybe be a lot to try to get through it, but maybe we did less. But I will get through all of them. Are you? Yours muted? I hear it.
yeah, no, it's mine is muted, but I guess the volume is not.
Yeah, and what? Wonderful.
Yeah.
Where are you hearing it? You're hearing it in the room?
Yeah, that was the first thing. Where I had to
You were there. Talk about yourself and your work. We'll ask a question and question. And then if there are audience questions, we'll take them. So you'll just announce to the audience that if they have a question, they can come up to the microphone. Right? Or raise your hand, whatever, give them a few. So I think we decided that rather than wait until we talk to the then give them, take the questions. We're just seeing you're in June.
So yeah, and recording this also, so that you know that there's provision, we'll put it up on the now. It's more bang for our buck.
It started in another minute, Caleb. Is the sound coming through okay?
Yeah, I can hear everything perfectly. Thank you.
Awesome. Appreciate it, Jeff.
After lunch, time slot is gonna be a little
Yeah,
slow to get.
there'll be some late joiners.
Yeah. How are you? Yeah.
I'm Greg.
Okay, so it's 20 past the hour, so we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining us at this session to kick off the Health, Air Quality, and Environmental Justice module development for our project, Science Core Heuristics for Open Science Outcomes and Learning for the school project. We're here at the AAG Annual Meeting 2024. Just a few things to note before I introduce our esteemed panelists here. Basic overview of what the school project is. But before we get into that, I have to say that within these open science projects at NASA, we always start with putting out a TOPS code of conduct. Now, there's also an AAG code of conduct. I think if you compare the two, you'll find that there's significant overlap. And it's really about, the practicing empathy and humility, listening to one another, allowing room for other people to speak. So it's for good manners and for good productive meetings. So what is the NASA TOPS mission? The TOPS mission is transform to open science. As folks are probably aware, 2023 was the US federal government's year of open science. And in that year, NASA initiated this TOPS project with a 5-year commitment to accelerating major scientific discoveries by broadening participation and increasing understanding and adoption of open science principles and techniques. Now, what does NASA mean by open science? Many folks have probably heard of the FAIR principles, that when you produce software or data, it should be findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. Well, the open science conception expands on that just a little bit to include also inclusivity, in which we support diversity, equity, and belonging, and we create new pathways to science. And then to redefine accessibility a little bit, it's not just good enough to be able to go and download something somewhere. For it to be accessible, we need to use use cases and language that makes sense to people. So we want to enhance accessibility by removing barriers to accessing what could be hidden knowledge if we're using scientific jargon. Within this project, TOPS has developed an open core program in concert with the AGU, the American Geophysical Union. And it's a series of online learning modules to get people trained up in open science workflows. This is something that you complete. If you complete the 12.5 hours of instruction, you get an open science badge. And NASA has indicated that they will take this into account in future grant opportunities. So it's something everyone should look carefully at. Our project school is within the follow-on to Open Core known as Science Core, which again, we're practicing open science and demonstrating open science principles. The difference between Open Core, which is a general curriculum, and Science Core is that Science Core focuses on domain-specific knowledge. So that's where our project sits, the school project. So what exactly is the school project? Well, the objective of the project is to use NASA Earth Science applications, data, and use cases to demonstrate the data science lifecycle end-to-end. We're focusing on building this curriculum for undergraduates and above, and it will take the form of online learning modules using both Python and R languages, Jupyter or Quarto notebooks. And we'll focus on the data science lifecycle from a variety of themes. There'll be a number of modules, one focused on water. The ones we're here today to talk about are health and air quality and environmental justice. And then next year, we'll be working on disasters, wildfires, agriculture, and climate. Now, my colleagues and I, our background really is in population and infrastructure. So although we're looking across these different earth science themes, we're going to be interweaving population and infrastructure throughout all of that to see, how does this matter to people? So what will the modules look like? As I said, it's the data science life cycle. So we'll start out with either collecting or generating data. We'll teach people how to process it and store it, how to manage and analyze it, how to visualize it and interpret it, and then finally, how to take their results and make them part of a community, to share it out as open science. Our first module kicked off in October 2023, focused on water resources. We had a workshop much like this at an NSF forum called iGuide, and we heard from some subject matter experts about their experience with water. And then we brainstormed some use cases with participants who included educators, students, and professionals. The project as a whole takes an agile development approach, but it's also very inclusive. So when I say agile, it means we're releasing things as we go. Even though the project is 2 years, we'll be releasing the water module within a couple weeks. And the air quality in the EJ module, 6 months from now, it will be released to the public. In order to do this, we need a lot of eyes. You know, that we say accelerate scientific discovery through open science. We need a lot of eyes on the project. So we enlist people in a consultation team, like some of our panelists will hear from today, the subject matter experts. We also voluntarily enlist people on what we call an open science team, where people can provide early feedback, be part of the development process, and really help us shape where this curriculum is going. Some of our recent impacts is, you know, I mentioned that we had the iGuide forum. We established our open science team. Again, here today, we're doing another kickoff meeting where we'll hear from SMEs and hopefully get some good feedback and direction. And then every time we run an event, we release it right away through a generalist repository called Zenodo, which is operated by CERN. Nice thing about Zenodo is you can fill out a form and get a DOI right away. So for things that are lightweight, like meeting materials, it's a really good outlet. We also want to bring the content to where the people are, so we also post all our videos on YouTube. Project, again, it uses open standards, including Git standards. So we have a repo that's still in development. And we're working with a group called 2I2C to implement these code in an online interactive environment. Jupyter Hub allows you to, through your browser, to execute Python or R code. So this will be coming soon. If anyone's interested in accessing this, please talk to us. We'd love to enlist you and get your information. I'll finish just by mentioning the school project team. These are our core developers. Many of us are at Columbia University. My colleagues here in the audience, Greg Yetman and Linda Pistolesi, as well as, you know, many other folks who have really been the backbone of the development effort. We also have partners at a for-profit company called iSciences, and then at another university, the CUNY Institute for Demographic Research, where, again, the whole point is that we want a lot of eyes, a lot of different perspectives, and we want to do that from the ground up. We want to develop the modules with that in mind. So with that, you know, I'm happy to segue into why we're all here, to hear from our panelists. So here we are to kick off the Health, Air Quality, and Environmental Justice module. Our panelists include Yoon Jung An, Kayla Anderson, Destiny Apolito, Ben Crawford, Dingyi Liu, and Alamin Molla. And I'll give them each a chance just to introduce themselves and to tell you a little bit more. So with that, I'm gonna stop sharing screen here. And Kayla is joining us online. Can I put you on the spot and ask you to introduce yourself and say a couple words about your work on the air quality, EJ, or the intersection?
Yeah, great. Hi everyone, my name is Kayla Anderson. I'm a fourth-year PhD student in community research and action at Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee. My program is a disciplinary doctoral program, so within it, I can really position myself within the fields of geography and community psychology. So in my research, I really use community-based, action-oriented research approaches, integrating geospatial methods to explore issues related to equity within the built natural and social environments, and really looking at these issues through environmental lens. I specifically interested in exploring how communities use collective action to address environmental issues and bringing in theories of social power and psychological empowerment. So one of the ways that I'm working on this, I've been a member of the Vanderbilt Drinking Water Justice Lab, led by Dr. Walter McDonald since 2019, and I'm currently working with other lab members to use geospatial and statistical methods to explore the intersection of environmental justice and drinking water justice at the community water system level across the United States. Also, my current dissertation research explores how predominantly white rural communities perceive and address environmental issues, specifically looking at framing processes, tactics, and community power. This research is grounded in a rural community in Tennessee located in South Central Appalachia. The work is part of an interdisciplinary research team where we're using participatory action research methods and working with community members to address community identified environmental health challenges. And I'll be talking more about that project tomorrow with practicing geography. Practicing community geography 3 session at 3 o'clock. But yeah, it's nice to be here. I can't really see anyone, but going into this line, but thank you so much for having me.
All right, thank you, Kayla. Dingy?
Hi everyone, my name is Ding Liu. I'm a second year graduate student from University of Hawaii at Manoa right here. I'm studying urban and regional planning. So I have done a lot of work with on climate change adaptation, resilience, and also environmental justice. And all of them are just geospatial data. So the current work I'm working on environmental justice is focused on Pearl Harbor in areas. So in Hawaii, before that area, Pu'uloa. So that area is, and historically, that area is a very sustainable agricultural areas, but everything changed since U.S. stepped in, Hawaii in 1900s. And so those traditional agriculture ways totally changed to commercial agriculture and later on the military times. So that caused a large pollution in around that areas. So that's what my research focused on. What those agriculture and military activities caused environmental justice in Pearl Harbor areas. So yeah, that's what I'm going to talk today, later, and yeah.
Thank you. Alamin?
Hello everyone, thanks for having me. This is Alamin Mullah. So I'm a first year PhD student in PhD in GS program at Arizona State University. So I basically work on air quality as well as Atlantic Island. So currently I'm working on a Department of Energy funded project. It's called Southwest Integrated Urban Field Corridor Laboratory. So for a study area of Arizona State, so we are focusing on the Phoenix as well as Tucson as well as Flagstaff, the cities. And particularly, I'm interested to see how the temperature as well as the air quality can, the exposure can vary based on socioeconomic and demographic status within the Phoenix metropolitan region. Yeah, some of the works what I'm doing, I'm going to discuss with you with the student. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Dusty?
Well, I'm my name is Stephanie Alfaro. I'm a second year master's student at the University of Hawaii in the Department of Natural Resources and Environmental Management, kind of a mouthful that we call it NRM. My area of interest is in agricultural policy and indigenous rights, place-based activities. So I think a lot of my contribution today is going to be about environmental justice and grounding that in place in to really look at how when we talk about activities, it's pretty specific. And the work that I do in that area is looking at specifically at USDA grants, loan-to-some incentives and resources like that, and turning those into opportunities that are equitably distributed in place-specific areas. So looking at a lot of place-based ethics, how cultural values need to be integrated and how resources are designed and distributed to a specific part of look at. Yeah, I think that's all.
Thank you. Ben?
Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming. I'm Ben Crawford. I'm a professor at the University of Colorado in Denver. My research background and focus is really on urban climate, so things like urban heat, things like greenhouse gas emissions, and also air pollution. So I'm very much on the technical measurement and modeling side of things. So I develop low-cost sensors and put out sensor networks in different communities and use those for both research and education.
Thank you. Yun Jung? Thank you. Yeah, for those of us out in the audience, as we're going through, we've some prepared questions, but if any question comes to mind, please feel free to jump in. Just make sure to come up to the microphone so folks online are able to hear it. So to kick us off with a question about open science. I've gone over how TOPS thinks about open science, but I'm wondering, are you familiar with the tenets of open science? And if so, do you apply them in your work, or have you before? And in your opinion, can open science impact research on health and air quality or environmental justice? So maybe we go back to Yoon.
Me?
Sure, Ding.
Okay. Yeah, I think open science, I've been heard that from different places a lot of times, and I think for idea for open science is the accessibility to the data and how to use the data. So that includes we have the right to access all those available those data. So and we also have open source software to allow us to analyze those data. So yeah, in my work, I always need a lot of data to conduct those environmental justice analysis, so the vulnerability analysis. So I believe our work based on those data. So I think that's our everyday life. But also I think open science is also very important for public, because public also has a right to access the data. So that is kind of a right, especially for the environment data, because public should have the right to know what's going on around them, right? What's the air quality. So I think those data available to public is very important. But I feel like what makes the data difficult to access is we might have trouble to access the data in a very small geographical units. So when we have the data, it's usually in a large areas, but actually, the data should. I think the data should have more small geographical units. Like air pollution is apparently different from geographic units by highway or by the valley, right? So yeah, I think that's what we need to work on. And also the open source software. So many softwares are commercial, but I think if we have more open source softwares, that will help probably have like more opportunities to engage in science and to use those data. Yeah.
Thank you. Does anyone want to build on that?
Yeah, I totally agree with you about that. So for I think the open science is definitely it should be inclusive, including all people, like the science for the people. So we should include all people in the process. If they are included in the process, I think they will be much more helpful with the output, and they will be aware about what's going on over there. For example, if we talk about the air quality, if the marginal people, if they are engaged in the air quality, if they are about the air quality in their area, they will be much more aware about the air quality, and then actually they can advocate for the air quality, and can actually make the positive impact on the policy level too. As well as on the aspect I want to think about as open science, I mean the research what we do in the other people, this should be accessible to all people. I mean, if you say that most of the research is not accessible, this kind of paper, right? So people have to pay. I mean, if the people don't have the ability to pay that, so they can access the research. I mean, that people are actually excluding based on their living status. They are not getting this kind of knowledge. So I think that there should be more focus on the making the research accessible to all kinds of people. Yeah.
Thank you. You.
I mean, to be honest, yeah, and why so better than that, so that they're doing that. We can say that a lot of nowadays, molecular ones do that. It's affordable researchers, however, there are some errors and outliers in the data, and I found that there are some scholars who are already developed methods of how to quality control the data and found out to find the outliers and errors. So I think developing the there are packages that are available to the public to understand. So through validators or say that.
That's a great point. Kayla, I see you shaking your head. Do you want to add?
Yeah, and the thing that I was thinking about is, yeah, I haven't been super familiar with the tenets of open science. I've really become more familiar engaging with you all, which has been really exciting to kind of see how that works in different ways. I think something that's really stood out to me is that meeting open science and not just being about making data available to communities or making it available to the public, but what does it mean to kind of democratize knowledge direction and to bring communities or people in to help them create that data, and not only just have access to it, but understand what it means and what it can be used for. I think in my work lately, we've had a lot of difficulty accessing open data within a rural community, and the different types of data. And so being able to kind of create that data that we need alongside community members has become really powerful in their ability to understand it and use it and apply it to really interact with the immediate situation.
Thank you. Ben?
Yeah. Before I share some thoughts about this, it might help us to kind of know our audience a bit. What are you guys into? What are you, researchers or educators?
I work at the U.S. Census Bureau, and national program also national community related.
Great. Just in case that didn't come through online, we have a member here from the Census Bureau.
I'm a former colleague of kids and that. Hello, we're both from the Hofstra University of Science and Technology. My project is about energy resilience, and IEP's project is about resilience. So we're looking at the impact of climate and climatic stress. Typically, like for example, actors in climate change, like working with farmers.
Great. So people engaged in research here.
Well, welcome. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for coming. My thoughts about the open access and improving and ethic are, I think it's really great. And I think a lot of fields are moving more towards this and doing more things with intentionally doing open access. But just because it's open access doesn't mean it's actually accessible. We're mostly writing for other experts and scientists. So I think to really be inclusive of a broad swath of population, you might have to consider other kinds of venues as well. Same thing with data. There's lots of data out there, and a lot of it is open source, but I don't know how many people are going on downloading their own data or finding their own Python scripts. So just because it's up there and out there doesn't mean it's actually useful for people. So I think we have to think about that.
Sure. Destiny?
I agree with that, and also to kind of add on, I think, being able to make science really accessible, especially to the groups who may not be necessarily engaged but are affected by injustice. It's really about how that science is being conducted and what are the questions being asked, why those questions are being asked, and how they address. I know we were talking about earlier how it seems in the framework. I think that how the science working at the end is kind of clear things about how to apply that science. But I feel like there is a need to, in order to be really practical, understanding how to include more community input and knowledge throughout that whole process rather than just at the end. And I think it really comes down to every step of that process of wondering who is benefiting from this. What is this work doing? What are the benefits for those who may be privileged? What are the benefits for those who are vulnerable, either visual or unusual? So I think open science is a great idea. I think it's awesome and inclusive. But I think the way that it is done is really important to really think about critically how it's impacting the greater, academic content. And another thing is just kind of bringing like the indigenous perspective. Also, there are maybe groups or communities who don't want their intellectual data to be shared broadly. An example not really related to air quality, but as that's my area. But thinking about Paulo or the town in Hawaii, I'm not sure if people are familiar, but there was I can't remember the year, but there was this time that the UH was trying to GMO Paulo, which is really an atrocity, especially to Native Hawaiians, because it's really connected to their life story, their in this world, how their lines come from, and to then GMO that and then patent, and then so it's one of the things that we need to think about when we make data, open.
Sure. Kayla, I see your hand up. Did you want to respond to that?
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful point. And I think also there's a need to understand that sometimes the data can be harmful to the communities that we're trying to develop. When data becomes accessible to everyone, that means everyone. And I know sometimes, especially within environmental justice settings, it can have negative implications for housing values or different things like that can actually harm communities in the same way. At the same time, it's trying to help. And so I think what exactly we're talking about is being mindful and thinking critically about how the data can be used both for people thinking about things with all different sides of situation is really important because open kind of means open for everyone that capacity.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, some of the things I hear coming through from everyone in response to that question is how important people are in the equation, that it's not just software and data. And, there are security risks at times, or there are times where data can lead to great advances for people. So it's definitely a tricky balancing act. And, in this movement, this open science movement, we do still think about things like personally identifiable information and how to protect people's privacy. Although it is true that this is an active area of debate. So, I'd welcome folks here to engage in the movement and to help to shape that debate. Kind of staying on the same topic, and maybe Destiny, we could start with you. What are some ways you think that communities can work together to advance environmental justice or air quality goals openly?
Yes. That's a very good question. I think it's really different things.
about it specifically in Hawaii, how we use kind of use more, I think. But I find, especially in my research, is the challenge that exists is really, and many times institutional distrust that has, you know, cumulatively generations and years and history. And I think that's one of the big areas that is the way of being able to lead the community. And I don't have the answers on how to fix that, but it comes down to a willingness from the community and from, you know, institutions who are trying to do these amazing scientific inquiries, and having that willingness to come to the table and engage in a way that both sides of that relationship, the values are being respected. And in Hawaii, I think a resource that I kind of looked at a lot is the phenomenology, which is basically research ethic that really go on how to create meaningful relationships in scientific research. So in the question of how to do that, I think it's really place specific. Maybe something like the phenomenology needs to be developed in different specific communities. But I think the idea that to first lay down how that relationship will proceed and how it can be stewarded is really important in being able to feel distrust from historical trauma and be able to do better for generations. And it's not going to happen overnight, but being able to at least start that practice of setting a foundation to create, you know, useful relationships between science and communities and institutions.
Yeah, so we don't, as you know, as a scientist, being touch and go is not the right approach to this, right? We need long-term trust in order to really solve some of these issues. Anyone on the panel want to add, Ben?
Yeah, I just want to build off of that. I agree with everything that's been said so far. I think that the foundation of building those relationships is key. For example, in Denver, where I work, there's a group we started at the university about all the community collaborative research centers, RC, and really all we've done for like 2 years is possible. I think we're going to eventually do a project, but we really just needed that kind of foundation. Hopefully, we built that trust. The one thing that came out of it was a nice clarification of what we all can do and offer each other potentially. For example, as a member of the scientific community, the research community, like we did come up with some study to collect data or come up with some new compelling measurements, but we're not necessarily the people who are going to then go and change policy. That's a different role. It's different people, and so I think that's important to be able to understand what everyone can do.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the room who wants to add on to that? Kayla, did you want to chime in?
Yeah, I think it's kind of going along with what Bethany was saying about place-based research ethics. Something that I've found in my research, especially in the rural community I'm working in, is just needing to know the cultural context in order to understand who to engage and who's kind of not to engage. And I say that because we have found that a lot of the decision makers in the community are not necessarily interested in talking about these issues, and so going to them seems like a natural thing to talk to the people who are the community leaders. But in our case, that's probably not helpful for this group of residents who are trying to address this issue. And so I think understanding the context in which you're doing the work and really taking the time to sit down and have conversations and kind of map out relationship structures and goals and objectives is really helpful for understanding how to approach to research in a way that's beneficial and not necessarily potentially going to cause some backlash on the people that you're working with.
Yeah, thank you. You know, the last thing that science wants to do is be extractive of people's knowledge, and we definitely want to be synergistic to build up, you know, societal benefit. So to that end, I wonder if anyone has experience engaging with decision makers on environmental justice issues, and if so, can you speak to some of the challenges and opportunities there?
I can kind of extend my last thought. So we have found it really difficult to work with decision makers. The community that we're working in doesn't have a huge economic base in any industry. Agriculture is probably the biggest, but I think it's really trying to stake their claim and promote the tourism. There's a lot of thinking in the community. So a lot of the decision makers, the last thing they want is to hear about environmental challenges within their communities, and so that's something that we have found really challenging. Is how do you potentially have roles and objectives that be in direct contact with these decision makers knowing about, and so that kind of that earlier story kind of alluded.
Thank you. Anyone want to build on that? Thank you, Ben.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of direct experience working with decision makers, but I have heard and felt some of the frustration and stress coming from communities. And part of that is, you know, hey, you've done this kind of measurements before, for example, measuring quality, but yet nothing changes. And sometimes that frustration can get taken out on us and researching. That's just not exactly, it's not always our job. It's to change policy, we can help with data, like I mentioned before. So I think that the decision-making process can often be really opaque and really difficult and frustrating for the community members to understand. And so that can generate trust. I think the challenge that I have had communicating with decision makers is in terms of measurements, just talking about uncertainty with measurements and what that means in different contexts. And then you often get the question like, well, how good is this data? And then they don't want to hear some nuanced scientific explanation off the time. Just want to hear that, yes, it's good enough. It's a whole other question is what is good enough?
Thank you. I'm wondering, are there any questions from the audience?
This one?
Yes.
Yeah, to jump back to somewhat to the previous topic about working with communities and the historic district at Columbia University where we are has been a long history of discussing. But I think one of the big issues is the disconnect between rewards for research and science and community needs. And I don't have a solution. I think the movement towards environmental justice and seeing funding for things like talks that support these is one move, but it's maybe not, funding can help your career great, but it's not going to happen. Maybe not. And I don't have good thoughts on how to solve that disconnect. And I'm wondering if it has, or I'm actually good to hear from the center, because it sounds like a different priority for university. Going to the community rather than just applying.
Feel free to jump in.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. In our academic careers, the incentives are often not aligned with the public community. So yeah, this center I mentioned, we're getting pressure from universities to use apply their grants. It's going to happen eventually, but it's still building these relationships. So we do feel some of that tension and some of that pressure. So we're trying to communicate with everyone. But yeah, I think that's a great point to bring up. And I don't know the solution either. I know in the tenure process, you get some credit for these kinds of activities, but I still think it's more weighted more towards traditional research. If you're open.
The opportunity to address that stress, bringing up the data, so it's documented through publications and data from people. And for the first work in school, we actually in place. I can't remember that I'm talking about, but there's been and teaching for the board of discussion in the past, but it's something in order to, get the balance of the reward of the community, it comes down to asking questions that are really relevant to community. Questions that, that we can, not using them, but like, collaborating with them to be able to develop questions. And, I think that's the more ways for them to be able to engage, be able to see the benefits of being able to do that in the kind of doing. And it's also empowering. I think about how like then 90%. In the short term, there's still a lot of pressure from teaching them really challenging and having to do that expansion between, the best institutions and educational knowledge and having to do that institutions of all or not. And it's really frustrating having to sometimes spend more on something else to be able to validate or dignity and knowledge. So there's a bit of kind of challenge that I forgot what I was going to talk about when I was doing that. Yeah, I think it comes down to spending that time to remember that there's a long term benefits, not thinking about really about something but putting that initial time to building that relationship with people and considering long as well as that and the difficulty in changing the perceptions and sometimes in the office. One of the
Yeah, those are great thoughts. How do we change the incentive structure for folks that it's not just about the next paper or the next grant, but really it's about producing a societal benefit that can be felt over the long term. So let's pivot a little bit into a question about data. So I'm wondering, in your work, have you faced any obstacles related to data availability? Or if the data is available, have you faced issues with accessibility of the data set?
I think you mentioned talk about the kind of work I'm doing about the quality, jumping on multiple country, the Paris metropolitan area. There are like around 11 national weather service stations that actually provide the temperature data. And for the air quality, there are around also 10 on the EPA station that will provide the good resolution data. This large region, you can see that Maricopa County is the first region. Within this, 10 or 11 sensors is not enough to get the more local scale data. Who are the people of the how is the air quality is changing over the time. So we actually can call it about the data desert. So like in my current work, I'm actually trying to actually identify this data desert, and I have talked with the PI project. And he said that the DOE actually provide some kind of funding to actually put the sensor, like the low cost, like the particular sensor, we can put over there, so that we can actually integrate this data with the sensor to actually have a more local data about that. Yeah, the data availability, I think, is still the big questions about that.
Yeah, could I follow up with you about, so you described this bottom up in situ measurements.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, do you find top down satellite measurements are they good enough to fill the gap?
Yeah, there are, a couple of data sets available, but their resolution is not, I have seen one of the data sets around 5 kilometers, and less than it can be 1 kilometer. As well as those data is actually, the kind of hybrid data. Some of it comes from the measurement, some of this kind of modeling steps. So still there is some confusion about how good the quality of the data. And another thing is we are talking about we should produce the science for the people, right? So as I typically agree with the I was talking about, we should not produce the science like for the other scientific community just reading and producing the code, the other people just can understand that, but we should engage the local people, like if you talk about the sensor, like we have our app, we can see the weather data, right? If we can actually do some kind of stuff, so that is available for every people, so that actually can know that what's going on in their area. So that's one of the objectives of our current work.
Sure, that sounds terrific. Does anyone want to add on to that? I can pass the mic down to you.
So when we compare them together, there are similarities. And I think I think they are the third one, and there was but oftentimes compared to the surveys that have been those are those are so I think you know
Yeah, have you found I think you said that there could be some proxies for air quality and other ancillary data sets. If maybe I did not hear correctly, but
I was and you figure out whether they the market
sure, that makes a lot of sense. Yes, please.
Yeah, I totally agree with her. We also think that like if we want to leverage that data, I mean, I think the sensor data is more it will be more useful for the public disposal, for example. Remote sensing data is someone who actually analyzes the data, right? And it's the on single time frame. But if we have like the sensor, we can have the real-time data, like the project. If I have the sensor in my area, I can see the real quality the data, and I can actually avoid this kind of the time, so that I'm not exposing in the polluted air.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Ben, were you gonna add something?
Yeah, I was gonna say that there's so much data out. It's an amazing time to feel because of all. It's kind of a golden age where it's a ton of data, but still, there's still a lot of work that you have to do. And just because you have data, and you have for the model, quality control, calibration, analysis, visualization, a lot of technical steps involved.
Sure. So it may be available, but it's not always very accessible.
Even the quality of the data, like the big data, like how even the we have first data, but how good is that data?
Yeah. Did anyone else want to add on?
I want to add on from other perspective. I feel like a lot of like commercial companies like Google Maps, they do have a lot of very, very good data. But that data cannot make profit for them. So I feel like they just don't care about this data. They don't want to like do any clean up with those data and maybe publish those data, make some data like public available. But I mean, if they can like invest some money on that and make some like Google Maps and mobility data available, that will benefit. That will provide a lot of like data for like urban planners to analyze the urban mobility. Yeah.
So there may be data that exists, big data that exists, but again, it's not easily available to many people.
And it's not help them make profit, so they just don't want cleaning up those data.
It's interesting. Along this same line of thinking, I'm wondering, do you have any ideas or concerns about how, the big topic in the past year is artificial intelligence and, not just the large language models that are leading the news, but also there's many sessions here at AAG focused on geo AI. Is it anyone on the panel who would like to speak to whether they have ideas or concerns about how AI could impact research on health and air quality or EJ or both?
I think I can talk about it a bit about that. I think, in the AI, we can actually use that for making the prediction and forecasting. We can leverage in that way, but I mean, definitely there are still some concerns like how accurate it is with the prediction, based on the previous, availability of the data. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think AI is a great tool to monitor the air pollution, the air quality, and even predict the future air quality based on the weather, based on the many other elements. So yeah, I think AI can contribute a lot, like build the the environmental justice. And even though the smart city concept, I feel like the eventually outcome of the smart city is to build justice cities. Like everyone has a right, everyone has a accessibility to transportation, to everything, has a so yeah, so I think the AI can contribute a lot of justice. Yeah.
Yoon, just going back to a point that you made about data quality, do you think that there's, what do you see as the possibility for AI to help either with the validation or with actually creating the relationship between in situ measurements and remote sensing data? All right, so some promise, but some concerns. Did anyone else want to add on to this? Go ahead, Beth.
Sure. Not a huge AI optimist every day, but I'm going to I'll be an AI optimist for this question. So yeah, I think it can definitely help with the science in terms of improved resolution, improved modeling, etc. But I think it can even actually help improve actual air quality too. Traffic technology.
That's very, very interesting point. So we have a question from the audience.
Actually, my computer, all right?
Yes.
You had mentioned in the introduction, that your work with low cost sensors, and I'm wondering if you could say a little bit more about that work and how, whether it's, what the motivation was to try to find these low cost sensors and implement it in your research.
Yeah, sure. So I'd say in the last 8 years or so, low cost sensors have really revolutionized how we do air quality measurements in science. So traditional regulatory grade instruments, a suite of instruments that measure the normal air pollution would cost tens of thousands of dollars. So, trailer with pumps and computers. And so a city or a municipal government can really only put out a handful of these. So with these low cost air quality sensors, they're still cost a couple $1,000, but they're much cheaper relative to the traditional kinds. Build it out and really dense networks and getting There's lots of opportunities there for citizen science as well, and community-led data collection as well. So we encountered a lot of skepticism of the traditional government regulatory networks. So people think value having the chance to have these sensors themselves and put them out for their own data. I think the challenge with these sensors that lots of people are dealing with are the accuracy calibration. So low cost can sometimes be less accuracy, but you can get really good data from them. But there's a lot of work that goes into that in terms of comparing them with reference sensors, doing different kinds of corrections based on temperature, relative humidity, and like I mentioned. So I think there's a lot of potential there, but a lot of challenges as well. But I think it's still an exciting time. I think people are becoming more and more aware of these, and it's literally thousands across the country.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think I can add something. Even if ask the question to him, so like one of the sensor, like even I'm talking about the particle sensor, it's costs around 200. So it does not mean I'm actually endorsing the particle sensor. I have nothing to do with them, but the people have been finding this sensor is really good. And EPA has actually conducted a research, couple of cities around, also including the Phoenix city, have said that the particle trans provide acceptable precision on the air quality data. Since the raw data is, they have, if you look over in the online, you will see that here also produce a conversion factor to actually convert the raw data to the reasonable the level of a particular matter, and PM 2.5 must be the PM 10 microgram per meter cube. So if we actually label this kind of low cost sensor like a 200 or 300 IDs, I think it's not that costly. Then we actually can actually mitigate the data desert region, because as the been said, the standard traditional sensor is very costly. And I think EPA doesn't have that much capacity to actually deploy in the whole region. So maybe we can actually use this data and integrate both of them together. Then we can actually achieve more local scale data. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. You know, I've been involved in some work at Columbia University where we've worked with a local community organization in the South Bronx who had received a grant to get some, $5,000 weather stations. And the university has supported them in deploying them and figuring out where to deploy them. So it's maybe this kind of can bridge the gap here with EJ issues where we need it in the scientific community, in the remote sensing community, we need more in situ measurements is what I'm hearing. And, one good way to do that is to empower communities with local sensors so that they can also, have ownership in the process and in the data.
Even, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
even we
please.
can actually provide some kind of funding like that. They will have fund like Department of Energy. Our PI said that we have some funding to actually provide the sensor to the local people. We can make the partnership with the like high school to actually put the sensor over there too. Yeah.
Sure. Did anyone want to add on to that? Okay, Kayla, I've not called you in a while, but did you have anything to add on these subjects?
No, not really.
Okay. So, as I mentioned at the start of the panel, one of the reasons why we're here at AAG and that we've convened these experts together is to call on the community to help us with developing use cases and approaches that are representative of communities in the world, that speak in the right tone and the right voices, have the right use cases. We'll be looking at health and air quality and environmental justice. There are three very big issues. If we were to plot them out, there's some intersections there. So I just wanted to ask the panel, here's a good chance to influence the direction of this work. Are there any compelling use cases that you would suggest we consider to amplify either the voice of a community or an issue that, either is known or not so well known? Alan, sure.
I I can talk about some of the recent papers, the research work that has been conducted on of my co-advisor, Dr. Alan Forrest. He has done research in Los Angeles County in California. We have actually seen that based on the socioeconomic status, some of the people actually have the high access to the air quality, and some of the people don't have the access to the air quality. I mean, it's actually, that is actually, based on the ability of the data, if you just want to rely on it, you will not actually get the ground truth, right? From where we actually don't have the data, we don't know what's going on over there. So, and a similar kind of the study, the national level study that have also found some kind of disparities in the access to the air quality as well as exposure level.
Sure.
And I actually can quote from a research paper published in the Nature. Is actually the air pollution exposure disparity across US population and income level. They actually said that there are disparities based on racial and ethnic minorities and lower income groups in the USA. And another paper I would like to talk about is published in Science. They actually said that they actually analyzed the last 30 years data, the particular paper 2.5. They have seen that over the time, the disparities have reduced, but absolute disparities, like those of the areas which actually have the higher pollution, the areas actually have the higher pollution, but the lower the higher threshold has reduced a lot, but still there are some areas which actually it's not the situation is not the same. Yeah.
Thank you. Kayla, can I go back to you? Do you have any ideas for, what type of voice, what type of narratives and use cases should we use to have the most impact in educating people about open science?
Yeah, I think about this a lot. I think it's a great question, but I get a chance to kind of share some thoughts. My initial thought is I think it's really interesting to highlight rural environmental spaces. I think sometimes they're often overlooked just from my own research experience. But also, I think there are a few really well-known environmental justice cases that people tend to know a lot about. So I think when I'm usually trying to explain environmental justice to people for the first time, I kind of point to Flint, Michigan. I think that is helpful for kind of explaining environmental justice in a way that a lot of people probably heard about. I'm starting that I do probably listeners have no idea anything about Flint because they were a lot younger. But I think showing that environmental justice also manifests in smaller cases, I think it could be really helpful for having people understand and maybe see environmental justice issues around them. So see them in their communities, or see them in places that they're familiar with, and not kind of pointing to these other communities. That there's environmental justice issues over in Flint, where there's environmental justice issues in Baltimore, but maybe looking in their own backyard. And so my thought is, I wonder if these smaller cases, or these cases that maybe haven't gotten as much press or as much media, might be really helpful in kind of showing the prevalence of environmental justice, as well as just educating people on how it can look different and be at different scales within the US and across the world.
Those are really great points. Destiny, we haven't heard from you in a while. Can I put you on the spot?
I think I have to do with this especially in Hawaii. I have a hard time connecting with the third element, but I'm thinking about cases like Ohio, usually, on this week of the wildfires and the environmental justice topic there related to housing, kind of the factors that allow that kind of a event to happen. And, think about the injustice that is goes way back to the Pennsylvania era, how that land was in a different zone, and the land was in order to for completions. And now less than and the wildfires that are talking to that's something about. I was thinking about like Red Hill and the way to that Red Hill and the Fort Valley to the military induced cases that are really relevant to learn from. Yeah, there's a lot that go into it that yeah. I'm not sure more that we kind of want to go into.
Well, no, we're happy to hear, and how we have an extended hand looking for guidance where we want to amplify these issues for folks, and we want to do it in the right way with the right tone that is accessible to people.
Right tone so I think really, when it comes to these kinds of cases of environmental justice, I think allowing the community to tell their stories and things like that, and raising up the voices that aren't really recognized in the media and that aren't shared broadly. But also speaking back to behind again, the housing crisis is happening, the displacement, get back, people having to fly back home. Those are all of the layers of injustice that are connected to these and things. And I think how to make it palatable to indigenous is really just letting these community tell stories and things like that.
Thank you. Denis?
Yeah, I feel,
And feel free to talk about air quality, environmental justice, or the intersection.
yeah, I feel like people in Hawaii, as an example, they have a lot of passion on environmental justice. They care about environmental justice because they have same identity. So I feel that is very important for for us. So when we try to like engage into a community, so we are trying to build their feeling of belonging. They belong to this community, so they can like more care about those issues about their community. So yeah, I think our mission is to help the community to build their feeling and build their identity to the community.
Thank you. Ben or Yunjin?
I have a lot of things that I don't know, I didn't see them, but I think it's going to be hard to hear. There are some times that all the problems that they're not
Yeah, I was thinking about fire and wildfire and stuff, the comments. The air pollution that we experience from wildfire smoke, it affects rural areas and urban. Mostly think about urban areas justice. Air pollution is a good reason, but wildfire smoke is a little bit different tonight. And then sticking close to the Hawaii here on the Big Islands, the volcano is a lot of volcanic eruptions. Well, so some of the natural sources are affecting different communities than some of the moving infrastructure that out.
Thanks. That's very useful. Do you have something?
different. But
Well, maybe just before that, if there's anyone from the audience who has any responses to this idea, open science is a big tent, and it includes not only the presenters, but the people being presented too. So, we're all ears to hear from you about, ideas that could help shape the way we build out this curriculum so that we can make sure all voices are heard. But if you're feeling shy, that's okay too. And, Linda, I was sorry to interrupt.
Just thinking because, we are developing the curriculum and trying to do this using this agile methodology, incorporating the tenets of open science. And we have some data sets in mind for what we want to accomplish in our modules, but I would love to hear from any of you who have been involved in teaching or teaching and learning, whether it's workshops or classes at a university, any sort of teaching experience where you've brought in, tried to bring in some of the data you've worked with, collected, and how you incorporated that into your lesson plan. So just to hear a little bit about any sort of teaching experience you have in bringing the data into the classroom.
One resource that I use a lot when I'm teaching is openaq.org. So if you're familiar with that, it's a website that's created to post together air quality data from regulatory networks and local sensors around the world, and it's all there on one map. So you can download on the ground air quality data from almost anywhere.
Anyone else want to add on to that? Go ahead, Kayla.
I use the state water relations system for the EPA water data for teaching. My advisor is actually one to 12, and I developed a water justice class where we use GIS to teach about drinking water justice. So combining the physics data with videos for the so far from the perfect when it comes to data, but I know that this is the best open access widespread data we have on drinking water quality, and then combining that with the data spatially has been really powerful in our experiences to teach environmental justice, narrowing it on one topic.
Sure, thank you. So we only have a few minutes left. Coming to the end of the session, I want to end it with what, to be a personal question for each panelist about, and you can pick EJ, air quality, if you have something on both, that's great as well. But I just want to know what does environmental justice mean to you? Or what does air quality mean to you?
I want to share some of my personal experience. So I'm from China, and I attended high school in China, and it's like 2 miles from high school. That's when I was in high school. So 2 miles from high school, there's a couple huge smokestacks, and they, and every day you can see the smoke transform those huge smokestacks, and you can smell those it smells like rotten eggs. So every day you can smell that. I spent 3 years over there, and not only our high school, this whole town actually can smell that. And yeah, and our high school is actually the top high school in our areas, and we achieved certain score in the high school entrance exam to get into. So I just feel it's injustice. We work very hard in middle school and to get into a good high school, and we suffer this very bad air quality. Yeah, so that's why I decided to study environment, study urban planning in college. So that totally encouraged me to study these areas while I was in high school, because I saw it. But I'm very glad when I back to my home last year, everything is improved. I didn't smell the same smells from high school. Yeah, I'm very glad, and I saw, the environmental justice is improved not only in the US but also worldwide. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Alma?
Yeah, I think, I mean, if I can, implement, learning, knowledge, experience, if I can, contribute in a positive way to people's life, I think it will be a great things to achieve in the short period of life. So I think that, I mean, we should be a society where I think all the people will enjoy the same kind of quality and the other thing without any kind of discrimination or the, like, at least it's a basic need, but a basic, I mean, demand from the people, like water, clean water, something that clean air. So I think, I mean, there is something we can actually do to ensure that.
Thank you. Dusty?
What is environmental justice to me? I think it really comes down to restoring, power, waterways, thematics, to the that, you know, in wrongfully taken from them. That's what it really comes down to, the thing that I think that's.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's hard for us to. Yeah, learning my optimist. Again, air quality is still a huge problem worldwide. And at the same time, I think it provides some of our best environmental success stories. CFCs that are destroying the ozone, something that identify the problem and you took some corrective measures and the ozone hole is actually doing better. In this country, in the US, the Clean Air Act, improved air quality. It's getting steadily better over the past few decades. Sulfur dioxide emissions, another example, really acid rain, these issues, that's something that or let's solve. So there's a lot of really good success stories in terms of examples of improving air quality. I'm going to take one of those, and I think that yeah, we will be able to improve air quality. We know how to do it. You know, better.
Yeah, thank you for that optimistic view. Great, thank you. Caleb, can you bring us home?
Yeah, I think for me, this is something I'm really wrestling with, is the definition of environmental justice. Maybe more often than not, I pull from Dr. Taylor's definition of being confident and spaces where you live, work, play, right? And that those spaces enable people to thrive, and that people have, I guess we had power over decision making in terms of how environmental spaces are used. It's kind of the basis of where I'm at now, but I think it's continually evolving based off of experience.
Great, thank you. So I'd just like to thank all of our panelists. I think it was a really great discussion. You know, I certainly learned a lot. And, you know, if you want to continue to engage with the school project, as I mentioned, we will be working on this over the next couple of years, rolling out curriculum. We're happy to have people as part of our open science team to, again, to help us get it right. And, you know, if you're interested, please see us at the end of the panel. Otherwise, thanks everyone for attending and have a great conference.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Today's good work.